Most cheating doesn't start with a kiss or a secret meeting. It starts in the shadows, in the smallest cracks of daily life. A look that lingers too long, a habit that quietly changes, a wall that begins to rise between you and her. At first, it feels harmless, almost invisible, but slowly those cracks widen until one day you wake up beside a woman who feels more like a stranger than a partner. By then, the loyalty you thought you had is already gone. Men who ignore these early signs don't just lose a relationship, they lose years of effort, trust, and the dignity they fought to protect. But here's the truth she can't escape. Her actions always reveal the shift. Female psychology makes it clear that a woman cannot fully hide the patterns of betrayal. They leak out in her behavior, in her choices, in the way she begins to live differently right in front of you. And that's what I'm going to expose today, the 7 signs women give before they cheat. Signs that, if you know how to recognize them, will keep you from being blindsided and broken. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop your city in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from, because these patterns repeat everywhere. Whether you're in Chicago or Toronto, Berlin or Dubai, the psychology of betrayal doesn't change. And if you stay until the end, I'll also reveal the hidden traits that all cheaters share, the mindset that makes betrayal not just possible, but predictable. Now, let's start with one of the earliest and easiest to miss signs, the shift that begins long before she ever steps outside the relationship. Number 1. Emotional withdrawal. When a woman begins to emotionally withdraw, it's rarely loud, dramatic, or obvious at first. Instead, it's subtle, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. She doesn't slam doors or announce that she's distant. She simply starts to shift her energy away from you. Female psychology reveals that before a woman cheats, her heart always leaves the relationship first. You might notice conversations that once flowed easily now feel strained. Her laughter fades, the inside jokes you shared no longer land, and the curiosity she once had about your day feels replaced with silence. It's not that she has nothing to say. It's that she no longer feels the same desire to connect. This withdrawal isn't just emotional. It's psychological self-preservation. A woman preparing to cheat cannot stay fully invested in 2 emotional worlds at once. Her subconscious begins to create distance, so when she finally crosses the line, she doesn't feel the full weight of betrayal. Psychology calls this cognitive dissonance reduction. When her actions and values no longer align, she resolves the conflict by emotionally detaching from you first. That way, when the act of cheating happens, she tells herself the relationship was already fading, already broken, already missing something essential. You might feel this shift most in the small details. The way she used to check in throughout the day, now replaced by silence. The way she once sought your opinion, now making decisions on her own. Even physical presence changes. She may sit beside you on the couch, but her attention is on her phone, or her eyes are lost in thought. She's there in body but gone in spirit. Female psychology shows that women rarely cheat for the physical act alone. It's the emotional escape they're chasing. And when that emotional connection starts forming elsewhere, the bond you share begins to unravel thread by thread. The danger here is that many men misinterpret emotional withdrawal as stress, mood swings, or just a bad week. But when emotional withdrawal deepens, it is almost always the first step toward infidelity. It's the invisible warning sign, the quiet exit, the beginning of betrayal long before the physical act ever takes place. Number 2. Guarding the phone. One of the clearest psychological signs that a woman is preparing to cheat, or already entertaining the thought, is the way she suddenly begins guarding her phone. A device that once sat openly on the table now rarely leaves her hand. She starts tilting the screen away when you walk by, putting it face down, or keeping it on silent as if she's afraid of what might appear. Female psychology shows that secrecy around communication is rarely accidental. It's not about the phone itself, but about the new role it plays. The phone becomes the vault of her second life. This behavioral shift is tied to what psychologists call concealment anxiety. When someone is hiding something, their awareness of being exposed is heightened. Every notification feels like a risk. Every buzz creates panic. Instead of relaxing into transparency, she becomes hypervigilant, making sure no message, no call, and no digital footprint betrays her. To you, it may look like harmless privacy, but in reality, It's the subconscious fear of discovery driving these actions. Before cheating, women often justify this secrecy as harmless. In her mind, she tells herself, I just want space, or he doesn't need to see everything. But psychology reveals that this rationalization is a form of self-protection. The more she invests emotionally elsewhere, the more she must protect the channel that connects her to that world. The phone is no longer just a tool. It becomes the bridge to someone new, and guarding it is guarding the fantasy she's not ready to give up. You'll notice changes in routine, too. She might start taking her phone into the bathroom, texting late at night with the brightness turned low, or quickly flipping screens when you glance in her direction. What was once natural is now calculated. Female psychology shows that when secrecy enters a relationship, trust silently exits. And while men may assume this is just normal independence, the truth is far more dangerous. A woman who begins to fiercely guard her phone is often not just protecting privacy, she's protecting the early stages of betrayal that haven't yet come to light. Number 3. Sudden image upgrade. When a woman begins to cheat, or even starts considering the possibility, one of the most revealing psychological signs is a sudden transformation in the way she presents herself. It's not a gradual lifestyle change or a slow build of self-improvement. It often happens quickly, with noticeable intensity. A woman who once felt comfortable in her natural state may suddenly develop a new interest in makeup, start wearing different clothes, or even adopt an entirely new style that seems out of character. Female psychology explains this as an external reflection of an internal shift. She's preparing herself to be noticed, not by you, but by someone else. This sudden image upgrade often feels confusing to a partner. You may ask her why she's spending more time in front of the mirror, or why she suddenly cares about going to the gym when she never showed much interest before. Her answer will usually be vague. She might say it's about self-care or feeling confident. While those words sound harmless, psychology suggests there is usually a deeper motivation. A woman rarely reinvents her image without a target audience in mind. The attention she seeks is not random. It is directed at someone specific who has awakened a new desire within her. Psychologically, this behavior is rooted in the female instinct to attract. Women are biologically wired to enhance their appearance when they want to secure or keep the attention of a mate. When this instinct suddenly activates in a committed relationship, it often signals that her energy is shifting outside of it. The new clothes, the new fragrance, the renewed obsession with her body. These are silent investments into a life that doesn't fully include you anymore. It's important to notice the subtle details here. If she once wore simple, casual outfits but now dresses more provocatively for ordinary errands, it isn't coincidence. If she suddenly becomes highly critical of her body and starts chasing validation through appearance, it often means she's not just seeking approval from herself. She's seeking it from another man. Female psychology makes it clear that when a woman changes her image overnight, it's rarely just about growth or self-love. It's about preparation for a new role she hasn't confessed to yet. You said, Keynote 4, expand it up to minimum 350 words and do not add any ending sentence. Do not add bullets, points, and mention every keynote heading. ChatGPT said, 4. Irritability and pick fights. Another psychological warning sign that often surfaces before a woman cheats is an unexplained rise in irritability and the tendency to pick fights over small, insignificant matters. Things that once rolled off her shoulders now become points of tension. A misplaced glass, a late reply, or a forgotten detail can suddenly spark arguments that feel exaggerated and out of proportion. Female psychology shows that this irritability is rarely about the actual issue being argued over. Instead, it is a displacement of hidden emotions, her guilt, confusion, or excitement about someone else being redirected toward you. What makes this stage so dangerous is how it gradually erodes the emotional connection between you and her. Constant criticism, nitpicking, and hostility create an atmosphere of tension where intimacy struggles to survive. A man begins to feel like he cannot do anything right, as though he has become the source of her unhappiness. But in truth, psychology reveals that she is not really angry at you. She is rationalizing her behavior by projecting dissatisfaction onto the relationship. This psychological defense mechanism makes it easier for her to justify betrayal. If she convinces herself that you are flawed, inattentive, or unworthy, then her disloyalty feels less like a violation and more like a response to her circumstances. This behavior is often linked to what psychologists describe as cognitive justification. A woman preparing to cheat subconsciously seeks reasons to validate her choices. By creating conflict, she builds a narrative in which you are the problem, and therefore she is entitled to find happiness elsewhere. The fights become rehearsals for the story she will later tell herself and possibly others, that the relationship was already broken, that she was already unhappy, that stepping outside of it was inevitable. Even her tone changes. Warmth and patience fade into coldness and criticism. Affection becomes rare while sharp words become frequent. Female psychology shows that this irritability is not just a mood swing. It is often a symptom of emotional investment being redirected away from you. The more she argues, the more she distances herself, and the more she convinces herself that betrayal is not only justified, but deserved. Number 5. Decreased physical intimacy. One of the most telling psychological indicators that a woman is preparing to cheat is the slow but steady decline of physical intimacy. It rarely happens overnight. Instead, it begins with subtle shifts, kisses that feel shorter, hugs that lose their warmth, and moments of closeness that start to feel like obligations rather than natural expressions of affection. Female psychology reveals that for most women, physical intimacy is deeply tied to emotional connection. When her emotions begin to drift elsewhere, her physical desire for her partner follows that same path, creating a noticeable distance in the relationship. At first, a man might dismiss this change as stress, fatigue, or just a phase. But when intimacy continues to fade without explanation, it becomes more than a passing slump. It becomes a warning sign. The truth is, desire does not simply vanish. Human psychology shows that sexual energy is never destroyed. It is redirected. If she no longer expresses it with you, it may mean she is already giving that energy to someone else in her mind or preparing to do so in reality. Even if no physical affair has begun yet, the withdrawal signals that her attraction has shifted focus. This decline in intimacy often carries with it an unspoken tension. You may notice that attempts to initiate closeness are met with avoidance, excuses, or irritation. She may claim to be tired, not in the mood, or too busy. And while these reasons can occasionally be genuine, a persistent pattern points to deeper psychological dynamics. Female psychology shows that when a woman feels emotionally detached, physical intimacy begins to feel forced, even uncomfortable, because her body no longer aligns with her emotional state toward her partner. The most revealing part of this shift is how inconsistent it can appear. In some cases, she may withdraw completely, but in others, she might still engage in intimacy. Yet the energy feels mechanical, empty, or transactional. This is often an effort to maintain appearances, to keep suspicion low while her emotional reality has already moved elsewhere. When intimacy loses passion and becomes routine or disappears altogether, it is not simply a matter of stress or timing. It is often the silent confirmation that her heart and her desire are no longer fully with you. Number 6. Increased independence. A powerful psychological sign that often precedes infidelity is the sudden surge of independence a woman begins to display. At first glance, independence might look positive. It can appear as personal growth, ambition, or self-discovery. But female psychology shows that when this change comes abruptly and without context, it often signals emotional distancing. A woman who once included you in her daily life, her plans, and her decisions begins to emphasize I more than we. She starts building a life that seems parallel to yours rather than intertwined with it. This shift can manifest in many subtle ways. She may develop new hobbies that exclude you, suddenly spend more nights out with friends, or take trips that don't involve you. What makes this suspicious is not the independence itself, but the secrecy and defensiveness that often accompany it. Female psychology explains that this newfound autonomy is rarely about genuine self-growth. Instead, it is a psychological camouflage, creating space where she can nurture a hidden connection without drawing immediate suspicion. The deeper layer of this behavior lies in what psychologists call emotional compartmentalization. To balance the weight of secrecy, she separates her worlds. With you, she maintains the surface-level image of normalcy, while her new independence becomes the protective cover for the time and energy she invests elsewhere. She might phrase it as needing me time or wanting to find herself, but in reality, this distance is designed to carve out freedom for desires she cannot fulfill openly. Over time, this independence doesn't just create physical distance, it creates emotional isolation. Conversations become less about shared experiences and more about her private pursuits. Invitations to join her may dwindle, and even when you're together, her focus feels elsewhere. Female psychology highlights that this stage is often the bridge between emotional withdrawal and physical betrayal. By redefining herself as separate, she mentally prepares for a future that does not fully include you. What looks like empowerment can in fact be the early construction of a life that exists outside the relationship, a life where loyalty is already beginning to fade. Number 7. Traits all cheaters share. While the signs leading up to betrayal may look different from woman to woman, psychology reveals that those who cheat often share certain core traits that make their behavior predictable once you know what to look for. These traits are not about circumstance alone, but about deeper patterns of personality and psychology that shape the way someone approaches loyalty, temptation, and self-control. One of the most common traits is impulsivity. Cheaters often act in the heat of the moment, choosing excitement over stability, short-term gratification over long-term commitment. Female psychology shows that when a woman feels the rush of novelty, her brain rewards her with dopamine, making the thrill of cheating far more addictive than the safety of routine. Another trait is entitlement. A cheating woman may begin to believe that the rules of the relationship do not fully apply to her. She convinces herself that she deserves more attention, more affection, or more freedom than she is receiving, and instead of communicating or working through issues, she takes what she feels owed through secrecy. This entitlement can be subtle, hidden beneath rationalizations like, "I deserve to be happy," or, "If he won't give me what I need, someone else will." But underneath, the psychology is clear. She prioritizes her wants above the integrity of the relationship. Validation seeking is another universal trait. Cheaters crave the attention and admiration of others because it feeds an insecurity they may not even admit to themselves. A compliment from another man, the thrill of being pursued, or the feeling of being desired again gives them a rush they struggle to generate within their existing relationship. Female psychology highlights how this constant need for external affirmation can drive a woman to step outside her commitment, not because she doesn't value her partner, but because she values the high of validation even more. The final shared trait is secrecy. Cheaters develop an almost instinctive ability to lie, cover tracks, and maintain double lives. They rehearse stories in their heads, perfect alibis, and become skilled at appearing innocent while hiding the truth. This deceptive skill set is not natural. It is learned through practice, and the more invested she becomes in her hidden world, the better she becomes at protecting it. These traits, taken together, form the psychological blueprint of betrayal, making the patterns of cheating easier to recognize long before the act itself unfolds.